a liberal doesn't always mean an anti-racist. A white liberal does not always equal an anti-racist. So I think that like the things that white liberals in Pittsburgh are voting on to make lives better for themselves, as happens in California, in Berkeley, all over this country, don't make things better for Black folks.
So, Kamau, because you were gracious enough to send me a screener of United Shades, the new season, I was able to watch the premiere episode on white supremacy, and I can say that I did learn some things.
Wow.
That's for sure. I did. I mean, as much as I thought I knew about white supremacy, it was a few things like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, let me be clear. People like you are the ones I'm most afraid of, being like, yeah, I know all this. like, yeah, I study this every day. I write about it. I actually write my own things about white supremacy. So there is an effort to try to make sure that it stays entertaining and that we focus on lesser known things. And also it's a whole team of people. So I learn stuff too.
Well, I mean, I thought that, that you even chose to tackle this subject was pretty interesting in itself. So what made you decide that you wanted to center an entire episode on white supremacy?
It's funny. I'm laughing. The network. Some ideas come from you, and some ideas. Basically, the show is known for, if anything, the first episode we ever did where I met with the Ku Klux Klan, and that's going to be in my obit. If I have an obit, that's that's what people yell at me in airports. You're the KKK guy, and so while we started going to this season, obviously Trump in office, those issues of white supremacy are being talked about more in the mainstream. And there was sort of a sense of like, could we go back and do that again? And I was just very clear, like, well, I'm not going back to the Klan. I'm not doing where are they now KKK. I'm not doing that. So I was like, well, how do we do this in a way that actually feels good to me, basically?
Yeah, I mean, because you did it in a way where, and this is something I want to talk about with you in a minute, because you do strike, as much shit as you might have gotten for that episode, you do strike a really nice balance between wanting to honestly learn about problematic people. I mean, just learn like why, because I think a lot of us have that same question, and not giving a platform to just pure and total ignorance. And I know that can be, really difficult, but nevertheless, though, for as much as you know about white supremacy, and obviously you have experienced it yourself, just being a Black man in America, was there anything that you were able to take away from this episode on white supremacy?
Yeah, I mean, you know about it in general, but I don't know about it specifically. Like, we were in Pittsburgh for much of the episode, and I don't know about the Pittsburgh experience of white supremacy. And I'd been to Pittsburgh twice. I actually met Damon Young, who's in the episode. We went to dinner one night.
I read his book,
and he's the one who
fantastic.
Yeah. I'm like mad at him because I'm so jealous of his writing. Like, I'm just like
Same.
I guess we have to be friends, because otherwise I'm just gonna be like, I'm just gonna hate you like Doc Holliday. So he took me out to dinner, because whenever I was in Pittsburgh, I was like, something's weird here. Like, I see all the new construction of gentrification, and you see a lot of happy white people walking around, but just like something feels weird. And he was like, oh yeah, let me break it down. And so to learn about the specific type of things that people in Pittsburgh deal with, I didn't know about any of that. Like, even a stat like, 72% of the time that Black people are on TV and the news and media in Pittsburgh, they're either athletes or criminals. Like, that's a huge indicting stat of a whole industry. And that was something that they've studied, but like, it hasn't been shared with the world. So I feel like something like that, I'm like, I want to share this with as many people as possible.
Well, the one thing, as I mentioned, that I learned things watching it, like I think in one of the graphics, one of the headlines that was that Pittsburgh was the worst city in America for Black people to live in, which I had no idea, because I've been to Pittsburgh once, and it was to cover, it was a Steelers game, and I feel like it was a Steelers playoff game, and I really can't recall which one, but I had a very limited in and out kind of experience. And when I was at the Steelers game, some of my friends who are Steelers fans, Black fans, they were like hanging at the game, and I went to meet up with them for a little bit. I guess if you would have told me, throw out who you think, what city is the worst for Black people, I don't know if I ever would have said Pittsburgh. So what is it about the racial dynamics there that make it the worst city to live in for Black people?
I mean, I think there's a lot going on in Pittsburgh. I think even where it's located is strange because it's sort of like it's in the quote unquote, it's like on East Coast time, but it's really closer to the Midwest. It's right out, but it's also right outside Appalachia. So there's just a lot of like it's a super red area that has this blue dot of Pittsburgh, but it's also one of the things that like we know uh, a a liberal doesn't always mean an anti-racist. A white liberal does not always equal an anti-racist. So I think that like the things that white liberals in Pittsburgh are voting on to make lives better for themselves, as happens in California, in Berkeley, all over this country, don't make things better for black folks. And so black folks get left further and further behind. And in a city that doesn't even have the perception, I think that's a problem too. We did an episode about Milwaukee last year. When a city has a black population, but isn't perceived as black even by black people, even though like August Wilson is from Pittsburgh, it's like it doesn't even capture our imagination of like we should check in on them and see what's going on there. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a lot of it is just it's perception. But then when you look at the stats, like I think we have in the episode, there's a 7 times higher infant mortality rate. Now that should be headline news every day until you figure it out. But this is again the nature of white supremacy. Black babies are worth less than white babies. So I think it's really just endemic to America that Pittsburgh can get away with that and yet have this reputation of like, it's a hardworking steel town. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now on top of that, all this like, it's the new Silicon Valley. It's a tech hub that just is crushing the black folks.
So when you conceived United Shades, was there a part of you that was reluctant or at least concerned that people might not quote unquote get it? Or did you have a feeling that this is a series that would resonate with people?
I mean, I feel really fortunate. I got to CNN, or I guess I got my last TV show canceled at the exact right time. So it's so my TV show was canceled, but at CNN they had just brought in Anthony Bourdain, Morgan Spurlock, Lisa Ling, Mike Rowe. So they brought in all these people who had these sort of like docuseries, and they basically said, just come do the series you did over there over here. And they immediately had success with those, especially with Bourdain. They immediately had all the success and all this acclaim. And I'd always been a fan of Bourdain. And so I felt like if he can do the crazy stuff he's doing here, I think there's a place for me. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like they're letting him get away with everything. And if I could just sort of like hold my space, and also CNN doesn't have a lot of shows. So the minute we got the season, I just feel like all we got to do is not fuck this up. Like all we got to do. And I tried to fuck it up on many occasions, and many people tried to fuck it up, but I really felt good because I felt like I was basically surfing on Bourdain's win, you know?
I want to talk about your relationship with him in a moment, but first let's talk about those early days of United Shades and you and the Klan. Are you amazed, surprised? I don't know what the adjective would be, that people still remember that episode and still ask you about sitting down with the Klan.
I mean, I mostly I feel like, haven't we made better episodes than that? Like, I just feel like that.
You
like,
totally have.
We've made some good. I mean, they're not as. I get that show. I mean, it was also sort of intentionally clickbaity because it was the pilot. And to be fair, it was my idea to do the Klan. We were pitching like Kamau goes to the country club, Kamau goes to the rodeo, and I was like, it's that it's that Eminem. You get one shot. So like I was like, I have to do something that at least, even if this doesn't go to series, I will have a story to tell. And I had to do something that like, and I really thought that Lisa Ling, Bourdain, and Spurlock and Mike Rowe can't do. They're not going to the Klan. So I felt like I had to sort of very firmly establish my own territory. But yeah, but what happens is I'll be walking in the airport and someone will be like, hey, Kamau Bell from CNN. Oh man, you know what my favorite episode is? And I'll be like, wait for it. The KKK. I'm just like, yeah, I know that's your favorite episode. and I get excited when people don't say that episode, but it happens probably like 20% of the time. It's not that, but 80% of the time it's like, it's black people, it's white people, it's brown people, everybody to be yelled at KKK in the middle of, O'Hare Airport is quite spectacular.
Well, I have never been that close to the Klan. Thank God, right? Okay.
Well, if I make a sequel, you can come with me. You can come with me if I make a sequel.
I'm good, man. I'm really good. But for those who may have not seen the episode, what was it like? I mean, honestly, I would have a hard time laughing. Like, y'all still doing this? Like, this is so outdated. But what was it like to be to talk to Klan members and be in their presence?
I mean, it was real. I mean, it was stressful. It was a thing where like we pitched it, we talked about it. The producers started calling Klans groups. They kept reporting back. We have one group in Kentucky that's interested. So it was like I had a lot in to think about it.
One group in Kentucky that's interested. This must be the most interesting producer assignment. Hey, why don't you find some Klan members?
Yes. Well, it's funny. He's a great guy. We still hang out. I still talk to him, but he would be like, I sort of have to. He's a white guy, of course, because he's the white guy to call. He's like, I sort of have to pretend like I'm into what they're into in order to get them to do the show, because they sort of have a base level assumption that even quote unquote white liberals, you really like the Klan, you just can't say it out loud. So he's like, I have to. So he would like sit on the phone going, yeah, right, mud races, exactly. Anyway, can we come on Thursday?
Did they know you were black? Did they know that black guys? Okay.
Yeah, they were told, like, I think it was like 3 levels. 1, KKK members, would you like to talk to somebody from CNN? And a bunch were like, nope. And then it was like, okay, of those who are left, would you like to talk to a black guy from CNN? And then a bunch were like, nope. And they're like, okay, of those who are left, would you like to talk to a black stand-up comedian from CNN? And then it was like 4 groups who were still in the room at that point. And we talked to 3 of them.
Was there anything that you took away from that after, talking to them?
I mean, I really did. Like the group we talked to, the very first day of shooting was actually the day we went to the cross burning, or as they say, the cross lighting. So that was the very first day of shooting. So it was really like right into the deep end. And the things I took away were, 1, we talked to people in the town about, do you have KKK here? And for the most part, people were like, nope. And we were like a mile from where the KKK was going to burn a cross. And so it's one thing about like people, and this is what we're talking about right now in America, erect huge blind spots so they can live their lives with as much peace as possible.